Today, you're probably here because you're trying to better understand annuities. You've heard lots of really good things about them and how they can create income and do things for life and protect your money. But you've also heard awful things about them, how you'll lock up your money, you'll never make money, you give away all your money and you'll spend down your principal, and you don't know what to believe or what to understand. Today, we're going to help give you some education on why using the right tools matters, so that you can avoid the common mistakes people make when they purchase annuities and don't get what they were looking for, and discover smarter ways to use them where you can get all the benefits of annuities, but with a well-designed plan and a well-rounded toolkit, you can actually get all of the negatives counteracted and make your plan stronger and better overall. First, a quick disclaimer. You can read the whole thing. Here's the basics, what you need to know. This is all for educational purposes only and not as about a specific situation for any one person. So getting right into it, we want to talk about why using the right tool matters. No one gets mad at or hates screwdrivers because they aren't good at pounding nails or sawing wood. An annuity and the stock market is no different. They are merely tools that have their own specific job, and if you try and use them incorrectly, of course they're going to be terrible. To have somebody say, I would never use a screwdriver, oh, you should never use a hammer, doesn't make any sense. Just like that, you'd never hire a contractor to build your house if they only showed up with a hammer. Yet many of us are working with a financial advisor who does the same thing. They're often controlled as to what they can and can't talk about, and yet somehow they get hired to be able to build these types of retirement plans for us. We believe in using vehicles that are good at producing income for income and vehicles that are good at producing growth for growth. And whatever specific job we need filled, we get the best tool for that specific job. And we don't expect one tool to do another tool's job. You can look at this little AI-generated picture over here. Look at this incredible tool. It's got a hammer, it's got pliers, it's got screwdrivers, it's got a saw. It's got every tool you'll ever need. You can throw away your toolbox because this tool can do it all. Can you imagine trying to build a house with that, though? How much longer it would take, how much worse it would be trying to use one tool that does it all? You give up a lot of benefits when you try and get a tool that does everything. So we believe in having a properly balanced toolkit. Many people's portfolios are like trying to pound screws into the wall using the handle of a saw. No wonder they are frustrated. Just keep it simple and keep it smart. Let's use the right tool for the right job. So now we want to talk about balancing annuity promises because we've heard good things, we've heard bad things. What's the truth? The truth is that it's a balance. Annuity companies have limited resources. They have a finite amount of funds which they can give to various promises to give you to help them remain sustainable. They can't give you 100% of all the things that you want. It just doesn't work that way. So the more times you get benefits, they offer bonuses, guaranteed growth, market upside, lifetime income, long-term care, death benefits. When you get all of these different things, they have to divide those resources among all the different areas. And the more times they divide them, the less of those resources you individually get. So it requires thoughtful understanding to make sure the product that you're getting has the focus on the products and the promises that you want, because every promise you get from an annuity company means they have to take that promise from somewhere else. So now we're going to talk about what you need to know before you choose an annuity. These are the most common areas people stumble and mistakes are made in selecting the correct annuity due to misunderstandings, lack of education, or whatever else. We want to make sure you're armed and prepared to know what you need to choose. These are the 5 areas that you need to be aware of. First off, what is a bonus? Why do some annuities offer them and why do other annuities not? And are they good for you? What is accumulation value versus income base? What's hypothetical versus what's guaranteed? Cap rates, what are they and can they change? What does that mean for you over time? And lastly, increasing income versus guaranteed income. By understanding these 5 areas, it'll best prepare you to be able to make sure that you're getting the right tool for you so that you love what you get and don't end up regretting it. So first off, what is a bonus? A bonus is very simple. It's free money. You give them $100,000, they give you 10% bonus. That means they gave you $10,000 additional dollars. But there's no such thing as free money. All they have to do in order to give you that bonus, they're taking some money that they'd spend elsewhere and giving it to you in advance. Why do they do that? Well, first off, it's great marketing. Do you know how easy it is to say, would you like a guaranteed 10% bonus just for signing up? That's very easy to market. The area that this is actually most useful for annuity companies is for other people who already have annuities. They have a surrender charge that they'll lose money if they leave, and so they can't leave. But if there's a bonus that makes up for the money that you're losing when you leave an annuity, well, then now we can move when we don't lose any money. So bonuses are actually most useful if you have a current annuity and you're trying to get out of a surrender on it. Otherwise, you're simply sacrificing something else you want in exchange for that bonus. So does a bonus matter? This is a third-party software we use to compare all kinds of annuities to one another, and we can sort through all the marketing to make sure we get the feature that's most important to you. This tool is right now focused on income. This is a 62-year-old putting in 100 grand, turning on income in 5 years. You can see right here, this top annuity, there's the 4 things that really matter. There's the bonus, that free money they're giving you. The roll-up rate, that's how much money the money will grow every year delay. How much that income account will grow to, and we'll talk about that next. And then how much of that income account they're going to pay you. So if you take a look at this first company has no bonus. It grows at 7.2% a year, every year guaranteed, which means $100,000 is going to turn into $141,000 at the end of 5 years, and they're going to pay you a little over 8%. So you're getting $11,481. That's the most important number. All the rest of these is just a formula as to how you get to that last number. So if you focus on a specific one of these things, it can be very distracting and you can end up in the wrong location. The income account's going to grow to $192,000. But since they're going to pay you less than 6% a year, it actually pays you less per year. So if you're talking to somebody and they're really focused on talking about the bonuses or the roll-ups or some of these other features other than the income, or they're not giving you something to compare, saying, look, here's how I picked this annuity. You said you wanted income. I selected the highest income that met your criteria and didn't focus on anything else. You can end up in one of those situations where you're missing out on the income that you're actually looking for. So to understand these things, you want to make sure you understand what specific promise you want from the annuity company and that you're focused on just that one promise. Now we're going to talk about the difference between accumulation value and income base. These are 2 very different things. Now, if you're looking for income base is fantastic. If you're looking for growth, then it can be very deceptive because it's not the same as an accumulation value. So this is what an annuity illustration often looks like. This is somebody with $200,000, and you can see there's an account value and an income base. Well, you'll notice that account value starts at 200 and grows very slowly. That income base starts at 200 and grows very rapidly. What's the difference between these 2 numbers? Well, the truth is the income base is just hypothetical money that doesn't actually exist. What I mean by that is it's an account they use to track what they're going to pay you income based on. But if you're to surrender the policy, if you were to die or ask for a lump sum, you couldn't get a hold of that income base. It's just hypothetical money. The account value is the only real money you have access to. And if you were to die, here's the death benefit column. You can see it just matches your account value. Now, this is an annuity that is focused on income, which means we actually only care about the income base. We don't care about the account value. We want that income base as big as possible. Because what's going to happen here is you see the real money grows at a maximum of 2.5%. They're focused on income, so they took money from the real growth and put it towards the income so it could grow at 7% a year every year, and that it would pay you 7.88% of that $325,000 when you retired, which is going to pay you that $25,640 for the rest of your life. Now, you notice in about 9 years, your real account value runs out of money. Now, if you did this in the stock market and you had $200,000 and you pulled off 25 grand a year for 10 years, that's almost $250,000. You would be out of money in your stock market account. The difference is that when your stock market account runs out of money, there's no more income. This guarantees that even if your account reaches zero, you will still get the $25,000 a year for the rest of your life. And in many cases, we can even make that for your spouse's life as well. So for the $200,000 they put in, they pulled out over $333,000 with no risk of loss. It doesn't matter what happened to the stock market. So if you're looking for income, this is great and you can focus on income. However, if you're looking for growth, you need to make sure that you know where the money is growing and where the promises are going. Now we're going to talk about hypothetical versus actual returns. This is actually going to be a growth-focused annuity. If you're looking for the opportunity to make money when the market's up and never lose money when the market's down, annuities are a great tool for you, but you want to make sure that you understand the difference between hypothetical versus actual returns. This is actually an illustration that was brought to me by one of my clients who said, hey, I look at this incredible annuity. I'm going to make so much money. I totally want to do this. And I had to educate them. And I've saved this now specifically to help teach more clients since then. So this client came in and they had $1.2 million in their account, and they're getting ready to move it into this annuity. By the age of 95, so 35 years later, that $1.2 million was going to grow to $56 million. That's almost a 20% average rate of return for 30 years. If you can get a 20% average rate of return with no fees and no risk, why would you even consider doing the stock market? Why would the stock market even make sense? There'd be no reason to do that. Take a look at how they actually get here. This is a product where you get returns every 5 years. So they say whatever the market does for the last 5 years, you get all of that. Market did 150%, you get 150% upside. Then you got 110%, and you can see there's 118% there. That's almost a 20% average every single year. These types of numbers are not what annuities are built for. Annuities are no risk vehicles, and when you remove risk from the table, you typically get less return. You should expect your annuity to return between 5 and 9% about on the promise you're looking for. If you're looking for income, your income should grow between 5 and 9% on average. If you're looking for growth, your growth should grow between 5 and 9% on average. If somebody is showing you double-digit returns, this should be an absolute major red flag. Now, let me show you what we did for this client to help them understand how this works. As opposed to fighting with them and competing about saying, hey, this isn't that good for you, you don't know what you're looking at, I decided, let me show you we can actually do better. This is another great company that I work with that I really, really like. But unfortunately, numbers don't lie, but liars use numbers. Now, I'm not saying anybody's doing anything intentionally deceptive. As a matter of fact, this is a very regulated industry and these illustrations are regulated. But within those regulations, if you understand them, you can make these numbers do some pretty incredible things. The first thing is they use hypothetical illustrations, which is what most all annuities do. What hypothetical means is that we can take back-tested results. We can guess what would have happened, not what actually did happen, but if these things would have happened this way and we would have known what we know now, this is how this would have worked out. That is the first thing that's a major red flag, because we can look backwards with 20/20 vision, but if that never actually occurred or if you didn't actually exist during that period of time, it makes it less trustworthy as to what's actually happening. And this is very, very common. So this same $1.2 million we put in here grew to $300 million instead of $56 million. And this is done based using the most recent 10 calendar years, repeating every 10 years. This is what most annuity illustrations do. They take the most recent 10 years. And for this period of time, from 2023 to 2013, that was 10 very good years, 10 great years. And then they repeat those for the next 30 years, expecting to get those for 30 years in a row, which is unrealistic. So take a look at these returns. This is an account that returns every 2 years. So we got 68 over 2 years, 33 over 2 years, 22, 100, 42. This is almost a 30% average return over this period of time. And so by age 90, it grew to this $300 million. But in theirs, they went to age 95. If we go to age 95, it actually grows to $690 million. So again, if you could put your money in an annuity where you'd have no fees, no risk of loss guaranteed, and you could make a 30% average, why would you even consider doing anything else? The problem is not that you can't earn 20% in annuity. I have clients who've earned 25 and 27% in a single year in annuities. That is not the average, though. That is the exception. Annuities are built and designed to be a low-risk, safe investment, and they average between 5 and 9% on average. If somebody is showing you astronomical double-digit returns, that is an absolute red flag, and you should be worried about it. If you're not happy with 5 to 9% on your money, then maybe an annuity isn't correct for you. If you are happy with 5 to 9% with little to no risk, then an annuity might be a tool that could fit for you. Now we're going to talk about cap rates. We talked a little bit about these hypothetical returns where they use these indexes, which may or may not have existed over time. One of the other things they do in these illustrations that's kind of misleading is they assume whatever the cap rate is today, that's what it would be forever. But cap rates don't stay the same. So what a cap is you have an index, such as these over here, these actual client statements. This is their first year statement from 2015 and from 2026. So this is about 11 years apart, and this is the change that happened in their cap rates. You can see in the beginning, they could make up to 3% when the market was up and never lose money when the market was down. That sounds really great. Now, this is an income-focused product, so they focused more on the income, so we had less cap on the growth. But watch what happened 11 years later. Those caps got cut over in half, meaning if we were illustrating 3% or 2.5% illustrations originally, we couldn't even achieve those results now, and yet the illustrations would always show those cap rates remaining the same. What's even worse is the product we actually used was this one here on the bottom. It said 2%, and it's what's called a spread. The way a spread works is simple. The insurance company gets the first amount of income to them, and you make everything beyond that. So the first 2%, the insurance company gets. Everything the index makes above that, you get. So if the market makes 22%, they get 2, you get 20. The problem is that this is in blue. That means it changed from the previous year. When they actually issued the annuity, it was 1%. A year later, it was 2%. And look at it by year 11, it's 10%. That means that this was originally illustrated showing a 9% average. That means the market would have to do 19% now for us to get that 9% on average. That is where we're having significant problems. These cap rates change. These index illustrations don't work exactly as they should. And so things look really good on paper, but it might not actually become that way. So it's important that you know what's actually guaranteed and what's hypothetical and what you're actually getting into. So what we're going to talk about next is this level income versus increasing income. This is another area where people go, well, I'm really worried about inflation. How do I handle inflation? How do I take care of it? And this is where we use laddering strategies to help protect people or increasing income to help take care of inflation. Understanding the pros and cons of each tool and understanding how they fit can be a great way to take a look at this. So this is a level income annuity. This is a male age 62 who puts $300,000 into an annuity and waits 5 years. So these are all income-focused guaranteed annuities. They do one thing. They focus on income. That's where all of their money's focused. And so it's very simple. You put that amount of money and they pay you for the rest of your life no matter how long you live. Period. That's all that they're really promising. So this $300,000 pays between $33,000 and about $34,000 a year for the $300,000 that's being put into it. And it's guaranteed no matter how long it lives. So you take a look at this top one, it pays out $983,000 by age 95. So it's very simple, very straightforward. Now let me talk to you about increasing income products because this $33,000 never grows. So as inflation comes along, we don't have anything to solve that unless we have laddered annuities. But the other solution is to use an increasing income annuity. However, these have some of the same problems as the growth annuities. They use the same hypothetical most recent 10 calendar year index, and they can use any indexes, even if those indexes haven't been around for a very long period of time. So we take a look at this, the same 62-year-old putting in $300,000. Now, the income on increasing income annuities almost always starts slightly lower than the level annuities. But then every time the market goes up, they get the income to grow every year. So you'll see within just 3 years, our income now exceeds what we were getting in that level income annuity. And it continues going up and going up and growing every single year. And it never goes backwards to where we're getting over $100,000 a year. So instead of pulling out $983,000 by 95, we've pulled out over $2.3 million out of this annuity. Problem is that this annuity, in order to do this, it's got the real money and it's got the fake money, right? It's got that protected income value and it's got that accumulation value, right? One that you can actually access in a lump sum and one that only is accessible via income. Since we care about income, we only care about the income number because that's what we care about. We take a look here at a couple other things. This is how much the index went up or down. This is how much the real money got or the accumulation value and how much the end of year income value got growth on. Take a look at some of these returns that it had to get 10, 17, 24, 9, 14. These, again, are double-digit returns. And if we don't get those double-digit returns, we won't be as high. This is where the concern comes in. Again, these illustrations look really good on paper, but what can we actually be guaranteed? What actual guarantees are, they have to show you this. This is zero performance. Now, let's be honest. It's not likely that you're going to get zero market performance for the rest of your life. But that's what's technically guaranteed. And assuming it does that, we're only getting $17,000 a year. So we went from getting $34,000 a year down to 17. Now, if you were planning to retire and your income is half of what you expected it to be, you're going to have serious problems. Now, if just maybe you had 3 or 4 for bad years in the beginning, right? Now we're at 23,000, but it's still a lot lower than you were expecting, and it doesn't grow. Now we only pull out $458,000, which is much less than the guaranteed annuity. So instead, we can do a different illustration, which is what they call a constant rate of interest. This says we just get exactly 3% every single year. And now what's interesting is, well, why don't you do 3? Why don't you do 4, 5, or 6 to be more realistic? 3% constant is actually the highest rate they will even allow you to do from a compliance standpoint, because getting 3% exactly every single year is different than an average of 3%. And they won't let you illustrate higher than this, which must make you question, why wouldn't they let you illustrate a 4, 5, or 6? So you can again see here, now we start at $23,000. And it grows. It does grow up to over $40,000, but we're 10 years in before we beat the normal annuity. We do pull out $1.1 million instead of $983,000, but this requires some willingness to take on market risk because the performance is based on the market. It is not actually guaranteed. I like these annuities. They work really well. I like to use them as part of a laddering strategy in the later years of an annuity strategy. So what we want to do is talk about how do annuities fit in a plan? What actually makes the most sense, and how does this tool compare and fit with other tools? Before we can understand exactly how they fit in a plan, we need to understand what retirement should look like and what it does look like for most people. The average financial life cycle is most people spend their entire life in the accumulation phase. They're growing, they're earning money, they're earning interest. They just want to grow, and grow that money. Eventually, as they get close to retirement, they need to go through a transition because they need to go from growth to distribution and preservation. This is really where our areas of expertise come in. And so when you start to research how retirement was originally set up and originally built, this is what it used to look like. The traditional retirement model that your parents and your grandparents probably used is you worked for a company for 30 years and you got a nice solid pension. Your grandparents didn't think about having $1 million in their account. They weren't worried about how big their pile of money was, how much their nest egg was. They thought about retirement in the form of monthly income. When I retire, I'm going to have $3,000 a month for the rest of my life, and I'm never going to have to worry about it. All of those pensions out there are actually annuities. They say right on the top of every pension plan, it says it's an annuity. Social Security is an annuity from the government. It's guaranteed income for the rest of your life. That way it was very simple. So the base level of income, protected income was there. The majority of the risk was on the employer and the government, and the savings and assets were just extra on top. So of course, financial advisors are like, grow, grow, grow. You don't need to worry about income because majority of your income is actually taken care of. Now we take a look at the modern retirement income model. Pensions almost no longer exist, or they're very, very rare. Social Security is having to take on more and more of load, but the small amount of protected income means that the majority of the risk is on you. And yet we're getting the exact same advice. Grow, 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 all in the market, keep it going. What we need some protected income. But how much protected income do we need? There's really two parts to this equation. We have what we call essential income and discretionary income. Essential income is what do I need my retirement income to do? I need to pay my bills. I need to have food. I need to have insurance. I need to be able to do some very, very basic things. That's what you need to do. Discretionary is what you want your retirement to be. This is where I want to take the kids to Disneyland. I want to be able to visit the grandkids. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to enjoy my life. I want to be able to remodel the home. I want to get a cabin up north. Whatever it is, those are the luxuries that we have. So if we take a look at this, we want to be able to take a look at your budget and figure out what is your essential need and what is your actual luxury or discretionary need. So let's say we come across this and we decide that $5,000 a month would pay all of your bills. Well, then we need to use sources of protected income such as pensions, Social Security, and annuities to make sure that this number is protected. What is it protected from? It must happen if the stock market is up. It must happen if the stock market is down. It must happen if interest rates are up. It must happen if interest rates are down. Regardless of what happened, that money must hit your bank account every single month. This is not negotiable because if this money doesn't come in, you either have to move in with your children, choose to be homeless, find a way to go back to work at age 87, or decide since you're out of money, it's probably time you should die. So these are not negotiable. This is a protected income number. Now, the discretionary money, some people like to guarantee it. They say, you know what, I want a certain level of lifestyle that's absolutely guaranteed, and I want to make sure that I don't ever have to worry about that either. Other people are a little bit more flexible with it and say, you know what, I'd really like to focus a little more on growth, or I'm a little more flexible as to what I can do here. So deciding whether that needs to be protected or not is up to the individual client that we work with. But let's talk about how these plans work now, because in retirement, do you want guaranteed income or do you want maybe income? Right? Income that's going to happen or income that happens if things work out. Because the question is not if, but how many times will the stock market drop during your retirement? The stock market crashes on average about every 5 years, which means if you retired for 25 years, you're likely to see at least 5 major market crashes during your retirement. What plan do you have in place to make sure that your money won't disappear during one of those, whether it's in the early years or worse, in the later years? The two most common income plan designs, which people are frequently disappointed with, is the 4% rule. This is a market-based portfolio where you have a 60-40% stock market blend, and you hope to never run out of money. First off, that 60-40 blend is typically too risky for income, but too conservative for growth. And you're completely subject to the market and something called sequence of return risk, which says if you lose money early in your retirement, you're far more likely to run out. That's why a lot of people are unhappy with this. There is a 16% or so failure rate on the 4% rule. And people even now are arguing that 4% is too high. The other option is to try and live off of fixed interest. Find the highest paying CD, bond, dividend, or annuity and just get the fixed rate that you can. And just, you're not really getting any compound interest because you're getting 1, 2, 3, maybe 4% right now. And if those interest rates go down, you can't do anything about it. And there's no inflation protection. There's no cushion for emergencies because you have to tap all of your money just to be able to get a little bit of money to be able to get that principal preserved, hopefully, and not run out of money. Both of these scenarios are actually designed to have you run out of money. The 4% rule is not to never touch your principal. It's designed to make your principal last 30 years before it runs out. So that's why we take a look at some different strategies. Our planning process is first to identify that current financial status, figure out what is essential income, what is discretionary income, and figure out then how to maximize guaranteed lifetime income to make sure your essentials are absolutely covered. Then we want to minimize those income taxes because it's not just about what you make, it's about what you keep. Then once we have your emergencies taken care of and your monthly bills all taken care of, then we can grow those surplus assets and really focus on legacy planning, long-term care, luxury, and all of those other things. And then we continue to manage that with you on an annual basis. We believe in just having a balanced toolkit. And so this is what our balanced lifetime income portfolio looks like. It's a time-segmented, mathematically laddered income and preservation strategy. So what the heck does that mean? Time segmented. We recognize that different phases of your life are going to have different requirements of money. So we set aside dollars for that, as opposed to sticking all the money in a single bucket saying, hey, here's all the money, work it out. Hopefully you can figure out how to take care of all the jobs. We assign every dollar a specific job, and we go find the best tool for that specific job for that dollar. So we then ladder the income out to make sure that it automatically takes care of inflation and that you don't run out of money and you still have that, you're preserving your principal. So the 3 buckets are this: safety. First off, this money is only there to be safe and liquid. It doesn't need to grow at all. Its only job is to be there when you need it. If an emergency pops up, it's there. The next bucket is stability. That's the bucket that most of our clients are worried about. Like, I need to make sure I've got this stability. You need to have protected income. Again, protected income means it's there if the market's up. It's going to happen if the market's down. If interest rates are up or interest rates are down, that income needs to happen. And it must last your entire life and your spouse's entire life. This can't go to age 87 and suddenly run out and go, oopsies. This must last absolutely your entire life. And it automatically needs to keep up with inflation, because we know inflation is absolutely going to happen. Then once we have our monthly bills taken care of and our emergencies taken care of, the rest of this money we can put into what we call the recovery bucket, because we might spend down these other buckets, but this bucket here is to recover all the money we use to do the other jobs. This can focus on growth, recovering the principal, long-term care, luxuries, legacy, all those other things. This can be focused on market type investments because we can actually afford to take risk on this, because if we lose money one year, we don't have to reach in and get it out because all of our monthly bills are already paid. Everything is taken care of. We aren't worried if we have a little bit of up and down here because we have all the stability we need in other places. Having these balanced tools together actually allows us to be more stable and have more money for our client, for our heirs, and for everyone else. Having these 3 buckets balanced actually allows our portfolio to be more stable and get more growth over time, because we're able to weather those storms better and be better prepared for all the situations that are going to appear over the course of our retirement. This makes our retirement plans actually more stable, more strong, and in many cases actually have more money at the end than if we didn't have all of these tools together. This is what this looks like. We actually have these time segmented designs that we're going to put together, custom income laddering, and we have the software that's going to show you exactly what it looks like and keep it very simple. We don't want all the big charts and graphs and hypothetical scenarios of what's going to happen over the next 25 years, because those are all going to be wrong within 6 months. We want to focus on the basic, simple ideas. And as long as the concepts make sense, the plan will be sound. So this is a client with $500,000. We immediately put some money into the emergency fund. We then shuffled up some money and split it into 3 different buckets to cover income. We're going to come back to that. And we took the remaining money and we put it in the recovery bucket. In this case, we put $100,000 in the recovery bucket in market investments. And assuming we only get 6.5% growth and they live for 25 years, that means they have $500,000. They started with $500,000, they end with $500,000. They maintained their principal 100% of the time. They never ran out of principal, which again, the 4% rule is designed to eat into your principal over time, just hopefully make it last 30 years. Here, we're able to live off of interest only, but instead of having risk, we move that money to these income legs. And as opposed to buying one annuity, we purchased 3 separate annuities. And we have them designed to be laddered and turn on at different times to get all of the strengths of annuities and minimize some of those overall weaknesses. So in this first leg, we have $200,000 going in, and we turn it on in about a couple years, and that's going to generate $2,100 a month of income there, plus their Social Security, plus their pensions, plus their rentals or any other sources of income they have, to get them guaranteed to where they want to go. But with that $2,100 is not going to grow. So we take a smaller amount and put it into a second annuity and allow that to grow for longer. And because it's growing for longer, it's getting a higher amount of income out of it. So in just a few more years, we can turn that off for $1,500 a month, generating even more income. And then third leg, we wait even longer with, and we pick an annuity that specifically does long-term care as well. So that God forbid we have long-term care, it could actually pay twice as much if we had a long-term care expense. By laddering and staggering these annuities and coupling it with market investments, emergency reserves, tax planning, and all of these other tools balanced together, we can build a plan that gets all of the strengths and benefits of each individual tool, be it the stock market where it gets growth but has risk, or annuities where they have stability but they have lack of liquidity. We can put these all together so that all the weaknesses are supported by the strengths of other tools. In this scenario, we took 69% of the client's portfolio and we guaranteed 100% of their retirement income needs. Guaranteed, not hope it works out, not, hey, maybe if everything goes well, it'll be okay. It's absolutely solved. and they still have money for recovery and emergencies and all the rest of their life. Now, when it comes to these legs, like I said, we aren't just randomly picking annuities. We're using these third-party tools to be able to make sure that we can filter out all the marketing, the fees, and everything else to make sure that we're picking the annuity that has the absolute best things that you're looking for in your specific situation, and make sure we get what's best for you, that we focus us on the promises that you're looking for and not all of the distractions that are out there floating around. So if this is something that would be interesting to you, you want to see how to add an annuity or a laddered annuity structure to an overall plan as opposed to just getting an annuity quote, go ahead and take time to book your consultation right now. Thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you soon.